Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing out there this evening? I just thought I would come on, say hello, and just talk to you about a subject that always weighs heavy on my heart. Something that I started in my journey as a parent 30 something years ago. Coming from a family that was very dysfunctional and there was no sense of direction. There was no love. Actually, the word love was really never used in my house till I was probably 20 something years old when my mother told me that she loved me. Um, so I think back to when I first found out I was going to be a father 37 years ago. Um, it was a very exciting time, but it was also a very scary time because I didn't have a clue how to be a parent. I didn't have a clue because I never had any example. Um, I didn't get to know my father till I was a teenager. Um, and I had a stepfather who wasn't a very good example. So I really didn't have anything to use as an example of how to be a good parent or what I needed to do to make the proper decisions and all that. So I really had to learn to rely on books, rely on my faith, um, ask questions. And if I couldn't find the answer, I would go talk to somebody who did have the answer. I spent a lot of time in prayer, but I think one of the biggest things I did when I found out I was going to be a father is I tried to do everything I could to change my life. I didn't want my kids growing up in the environment that I had to grow up in. And one of the biggest decisions I made when I realized I was going to be a father that I needed to stop that dysfunction, that crappy way of thinking. I didn't want to pass on all this bad behavior to my kids that my parents did to me and things like that. So I made a decision, a conscious decision to do whatever I could to change my life, to better me to be the father that I wanted to be and that God wanted me to be. Um, so I just did everything in my power to learn as much as I could and talk to different people and read. And some nights, I would lie awake at night worrying that I was going to ruin my firstborn. And and then I just decided that I was going to move from where I was living to another province. And so I packed up my family and moved to a different province. And because I knew I needed to get away from many different things in my life. I was a heavy drinker. I needed to try and get that under control. And so I needed to get away from some situations and certain people. So I just decided to move. And so I did that. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but I did it to better myself and to protect my family and so that I'd be able to make the right decisions and that I'd be able to be the father that I wanted to be. So I packed up and I moved. And it wasn't easy. I had to find a job, and probably for the first 6 months, my wife and my firstborn son weren't able to come out, to move out to where I was. So it took a while for me. I got a job right away, and I saved up my money enough to get a place. So they came out about 6 months later, and we started a new journey in our life. It wasn't always easy. Yeah, I made mistakes as a father. As parents, we're all going to make mistakes. But as I look back at those sleepless nights, worrying and wondering what I should do in certain situations and how I should handle it. And when I didn't handle it, I always made sure that I made it right with my son or my sons or whatever it was, and always talked to them. And it was always very important for me to be there for them, for their soccer games, for the PTA meetings. I coached their sports. I took them swimming, stuff that I never got because my dad wasn't around until I was older. So that was a very important for me to, for my kids to realize that I cared and I loved them. And I would do everything I could. If I had to work 6 jobs, I worked 6 jobs to provide for my family because it was important to me that they got all they needed. It wasn't about the material things. It was about the emotional support, the love, the nurturing, everything that a parent's supposed to do for their kid to grow up healthy, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And I did all those things. Was I perfect? No, I made mistakes, which, as parents we do. But we have to learn to forgive ourselves and not to be so hard on ourselves and not to try to make the same mistakes over and over again. That's the key. And that's what I did. And a lot of times you don't see the results. My kids are grown up now. We have great talks. And they tell me how much they appreciate me as their father. And that means a lot to me. But there were times where I thought I failed. Their mother and I, we ended up getting divorced. And that wasn't easy. We're still good friends. And that's important for me and for my ex-wife that we remained good friends over the years while the kids were growing up. And we're still good friends. And we care about each other because we love our kids. We love both our boys. And it doesn't help the kids if the two parents are fighting, whether they're married or not married. You got to always remember, man, is that woman that you used to be married to is the mother of your sons. And because you love your sons, you're going to respect her and do whatever you can. If something happens to her, it's going to hurt your kids. And because you love your kids, it's also going to affect you. So there's no sense having a contest where you're bad mouthing each other and saying bad things about each other. It doesn't do you any good or the kids. And now as the kids are older, their mother and I can get together with my new wife and we have family things that we do together. And it's good. It's important because you love your kids. Forget about yourself and your stupidity and your insecurities or whatever you want to do and your hatred or whatever it is, your unforgiveness, and just think about the kids. They need to be fed. They need to be clothed. They need to be loved. They need to be heard. They need reassurance. All those things are important for our kids to grow up to be healthy individuals. You don't want to go visit them in jail. You don't want to be watching them as they're shooting up or they're drinking themselves to death. You don't want to see all that. So you want to do everything you can for your kids to grow up healthy, grow up to be loving and caring individuals, so that when they have kids, they can say, okay, what would my mom do? What would my dad do in this situation? That's something I never had. So that's really important as parents. Kids today, I feel sorry for them because they got so much to deal with. They're getting brainwashed in so many areas. They don't know whether they're coming or going. And it makes me sad. So as parents, we have a responsibility to love and protect them at all costs. At all costs. I can't emphasize that more right now. Especially men, I challenge you to be responsible. Get off the couch. Go pay attention to your daughter. Go pay attention to your son. Show him what it is to be a man, and show her what it means to be a woman. And mothers, do the same thing with your daughters, and on we go. Because if we don't do that, then what kind of future do we have for our kids? What future do they have for their grandkids? You know, if you come from a home that's dysfunctional, don't you want to put an end to it? Of all the nonsense, I look back at all my family traits and all the things that have been passed on to generation, and it just makes me sick. So we need to be willing to put an end to that and do whatever it takes. And it's not an easy thing to do. We're going to make mistakes. But if you don't know and you don't have all the answers, ask, read, pray, or do whatever you need to do to ensure that your kid is going to grow up to be healthy. And we have no guarantees. There's a lot of messed up kids that come from good homes, but majority of them are going to be okay. And no matter whether they're 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, you still need to tell them that you love them. You still need to tell them you're sorry. And I also challenge those parents out there that have made mistakes and they figure it's too late to make amends and to say, I'm sorry. It's never too late. Your kid could be 50 years old. You still need to say you're sorry and ask for forgiveness. That could change their life, what life they have left. I know in my own life, if my mother would have done that, it would have changed my life. But I made a choice that I wasn't going to allow her to control my life, even though she wasn't around anywhere. So I had to take back control of my life and be responsible and accept responsibility for my behavior and be a man and man up and say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. This is what I need to do to change, to be a better person, not only for yourself, but for your kids and for your friends, your nieces, your nephews, whatever it is. And in the end, it's worth it. And then you'll be able to look in the mirror and say, man, you know, I'm glad I did that. Because it's never too late to say you're sorry. I can't stress it enough. I've seen so many people go to their deathbed, and my mother included, by not just saying, you know what, I made a mistake and I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Or just a simple word, I'm sorry, would change your daughter or your son's direction in life. It's never too late to make those changes. And I guarantee you, you do that, you'll see a difference. You'll see a whole new person. I guarantee you. So, you know, I challenge you to do that. I challenge that you, if you need to make some changes in your life, it's never too late. I'm 60 years old and I'm still making changes in my life. And it's a journey. It's a thing we'll be doing for the rest of our life. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's a good thing to keep learning and growing and becoming wise and making wise decisions. You're never too old to learn. I'm learning every day. And sometimes I learn from my nieces and my nephews. And that's a good thing. We can all learn from each other. It doesn't matter how old we are, whatever. I can learn from the young, and the young can learn from the old. So there's a balance. That, you know, so we need to be willing to make changes. And the biggest thing is, I find, is that if you realize that you have this characteristic, and for me, for instance, an example is if you realize there's a time in your life when you realize you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, you need to look in the mirror and say, hi, I'm Randy, or I'm whoever, I'm an alcoholic. Or hi, I'm Randy, I'm a drug addict. Or hi, I'm Randy, this is what I do. And name that thing that you do. Whether it's resentment or unforgiveness or whatever it is. Or you have low self-esteem or whatever it is. Or you need to be in control. Or you have a weight problem, or you have, whatever it is. Just speak it, say it, and I guarantee your life will change. But until we come to that place in our life, as parents or people who don't have kids, until we come to that place in our life that we're willing to admit, hey, we're not perfect, we make mistakes, and we need to take the blinders off our eyes, and we need to make some changes, because it's never too late. So I encourage you to do that. And I look forward to hearing from you. And I hope whatever I say, there's going to be many more of these times where I feel inspired to say things. And I don't ever mean to say anything to hurt anybody or offend anybody. That's never my intentions. My intentions to lift up and to help and to speak from my heart. That's all I want to do. Speak from my heart in love and compassion and understanding. And that hope that whatever I say can change somebody's life, change their course of life. And that's all I want to do. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to many more times like this. God bless you all. Take care.